I'm really excited today to have Dr. Karen Jacobson back with us again into part 2 of Talk With Me in My Own Language. As the workplace makes adjustments to deal with the current health crisis, we're not able to do business as usual, as you all know. Events such as face-to-face meetings, networking events, and conferences are currently on hold. We are all forced to develop new ways to connect with our clients and team members. Transitioning to remote online business has brought a number of new challenges from management to communication and technology. Obviously, everybody here is getting used to technology because you're participating in this webinar. While we're dealing with many unknowns and uncertain times, the good news is there are solutions, and after you hear Dr. Karen Jacobson's presentation, you'll discover how. Dr. Karen has over 30 years of leadership and communications expertise, growing up in war-torn country and serving as a non-commissioned officer in the Israeli army, have prepared her to navigate through times of crisis and times of peace. Sitting on boards of professional associations, as well as running high-volume, multi-generational healthcare practice, have given her insight and opportunity to work with a diverse audience. She is a champion Latin ballroom dancer, and that will keep you on your toes as she reveals to you tips and strategies for better communication in her masterclass, Talk to Me in My Own Language. Keys to turning prospects into solid clients. Please welcome from the battlefield to the ballroom and now to our virtual stage at IDC Worldsource, Dr. Karen Jacobson. Karen, over to you.
Good morning, Canada. Yes, there was a question here whether I speak Canadian, eh? It is a balmy 23 centigrade here today in Scottsdale, Arizona. And I would love to first find out where in Canada you might be. So let's look at a few things. We have a little chat feature. Just type in the chat where you're from. While I did the tour back in January, I had the opportunity to meet many of you. So we've got some people. We got, let's see, we've got Vancouver and Surrey and Mississauga and Toronto and Markham, Montreal, Calgary. Wonderful, wonderful. I am super excited to share with you today the second part of Talk to Me in My Own Language. Today's world, we had to switch over to virtual in a heartbeat. And while the projection was that it might have taken years to do that, it really is something that at times within 2 weeks. I recall one of my colleagues who is a Pilates teacher. Now, Pilates, as we all know, is something that is essential to be able to support your students and teach in person. Well, when they shut down that was in March, within 2 weeks, Gabriella has not only turned her business into an online business, but she actually expanded her market. And during one of our conversations, I had found out that she now actually has clients from Japan. And all she's doing is training and teaching virtually from Scottsdale, Arizona. Now, let's look at, before we go into today, let's kind of do a brief overview on what we talked about during our last training. Let's start off, let's talk a little bit about what we did during the initial training. The initial training, we talked about PPE and PPE for sales, which basically means that in order to be able to be ready, we need to prepare our technology, prepare our home office, prepare our station. We need to understand how we're presenting online. What does our office look like? You know, several of you had the opportunity to meet with me one-on-one, and one of the tips that I shared with some of the people is something that you might see behind me. Add your logo onto your background somewhere, because when you are not sitting with someone face to face and you don't have the opportunity to shake hands and you don't have the opportunity to necessarily hand your business card, just a little message in the background gives them a constant reminder of who you are. Making sure that you're engaging. So today we're going to get a little bit more into engagement. Before that, I'd like to find out, first of all, if anyone here that might have been in the previous event has any questions regarding what we did last time. Okay, Small businesses, we all know that small businesses have been impacted by COVID. However, when you're looking at a situation, your mindset is really essential. Are you looking at the downside, or are you looking at any possibilities that you can draw from it? One of the things that's essential, especially when we're virtual, is the fact that you actually have the opportunity to expand your market. Now, the key thing is that 51% say they want to use the current crisis to learn a new skill or strengthen their business. As we all know, having to go virtual, having to learn technology is, of course, for many of us, a new skill, especially if we're of the older generations, like the baby boomers, that were not born with technology, and it's something that we had to acquire along the line. The opportunity is there. When we look at assets, and when we've previously talked about the wealth that is transferring from baby boomers to younger generations, there is a tremendous amount of money and opportunity for advisors to be able to manage. The question is, do we have the opportunity to capture the market in the way that the market is built today? In other words, with the fact that not only we've been forced to move to remote, currently, the younger generations, as we've talked about in the past, are actually more apt to connect remotely. They want to have more online connections. They want to have more online education. What are you doing in order to serve that community to their needs? 40% growth leads by advisors who embrace digital marketing tools. Last time we talked about where we can use opportunities, whether it's putting up a podcast or shooting some video or sending out email. Today, we're actually going to talk about the content itself, what exactly we say, and how do we connect with people. The most important thing is that in order to be making sure that we're adapting to our audiences that's constantly learning and growing, we have to make sure that we never stop learning. We have to make sure that we understand that all things are positive, that all things are possible. That means mindset. That means being open to change, being open to growth and to learning. Today, we're going to cover three things. We're going to learn, first of all, what are the 2 key personality traits that help every advisor succeed, as well as what the one mistake that you could make that just like that could cost you your client. Third thing is we're going to acquire some practical tools to help you build confidence with client engagement. Okay, it's time for a little interaction and to stretch yourself. Now, I'd like for you to all pull out either your phones or jump on another browser and type in Minty.com. And when you type in Minty.com, you use the code 4271314. That will lead you to a website, and the website will have a poll. The poll is currently open, and I'm going to give you an opportunity to answer the question. What is your greatest challenge? Is it maintaining current clients? Is it going digital? Or is it acquiring new prospects and new clients online? Let's take about another 30 seconds. And I can also see that those that may have not been able to jump on the poll are using the chat feature. Excellent. And the same thing, if you cannot do that, and looks like new clients is the winner. So let's move back to understanding what is it that we can do. So new clients is really the bread and butter of growing and expanding a business. It's what feeds us. When we go out, get something to eat, There's different ways where we can do it. We talked about being able to fish for some leads. Now, how we fish is going to make a difference in how we eat. Everyone is very familiar, I'm sure, with the cliche where if you give someone a fish, you feed them for a day, you teach them how to fish, you can feed them for a lifetime. But how you fish is going to make a difference. You can go out and cast a wide net, which basically means you have no strategy, you're just tossing things everywhere. And when you do that, your results are going to show the same way. Find a lot of garbage and a lot of empty bottles of water, especially when you have some of those dirty beaches. You can have a little bit of a strategy. I know that it's coming up on deep sea fishing, on ice fishing in Canada, from October to February. I know that's your season. However, it's seasonal. How many of you have been in a situation where when you went out and did your marketing and built your funnels, you worked on it for a while and then you got busy, and then you worked on it for a while and then you got busy. So there was no continuity and there was no strategy for long term. There's another style of fishing, and there are places where you can do them year round. And that's deep sea fishing. Now that happens to be my father, and I was on a deep sea fishing trip several years ago, unbeknownst to me. I was visiting my father in Florida, and he said one of his clients has a yacht, and we're going to go out on the yacht for the day. I'm like, that sounds awesome to me. Now I show up, and it's a 70-foot fishing yacht. You can see in the picture, there's a king chair in the back. What was important was not so much the yacht. It's what I observed on how they went about deep sea fishing. I remember when they started, when they took the tiny little bait when we were leaving the dock. They were looking to get a small little fish. And when they got that small little fish, when we were a little further deeper in the water, there was a bigger fish. And each time, as we got deeper and deeper into the oceans in Florida, the fish got deeper. Well, except for that one time when the barracuda ate half of the fish. Nonetheless, for my dad, that was the first experience in deep sea fishing. There was a captain that was on that yacht, and we were up on top navigating the waters, making sure that we knew we had the right direction. They had a strategy in where they were going and what they were doing. They had the right tools, from making sure they had the bait for the fish, to having the right fishing rods, even down to the king's chair. We knew the location where we would find the different fish. And the most important thing, even though that barracuda ate half of the fish, half of the bait, we stayed the course. For my dad, it was a wonderful experience. How can we take that and apply that to being able to go out and deep sea market ourselves for new leads? We first have to understand the landscape and understand that there are challenges when we go fishing. Zig Ziglar says that there's 5 basic obstacles. There's the people that have no need. There's those that have no money. There are those that are in no hurry. They have no desire and no trust. Some of those are within your control. Some of those, not so much. Let's look at what we control, because that's the only thing that we can do. Let's look at helping people build trust and understand value so we can change need. The most important thing is the captain. The captain gives direction. Are you the captain of your company, of your team? Do you know why you're doing what you're doing? Simon Sinek talks about start with why. There's a purpose to everything we do. That is what helps us stay the course, and that is what keeps us going on a regular basis. Why do I do what I do? Have you asked yourself that? Why you do what you do? What drives you? Is there some bigger goal than just the finances or having a recognition or a business? Is there a goal that really, despite the challenges and the ups and downs, will allow you to move forward and stay the course? The key thing, it's really not about us. It's what we are doing for others. Do you know for sure what exactly you're selling? Is your message clear? Do you know who your fish are? Whether you're deep sea fishing or whether you're ice fishing. And how do you sell? So let's look at some strategies and locations. Now, I'll give you a little tip. At the end, I'll actually show you how you can get a copy of this sales report and another free gift that I have for you. But let's talk about virtual platforms. Whether it's events like today, whether it's conferences online, whether it's happy hours, whether it's what we might call Zoom Cafe, you have opportunity to connect not only with current clients that you have, but through them to meet other people. It's about learning to take the advantage of the tools that we have. In our first seminar, we talked about the fact that you could use Skype, you could use Zoom, you could use WebEx, Microsoft Teams, etc. Pick a platform, learn the platform, and then use the platform. LinkedIn prospecting, especially when you have a defined market, using LinkedIn to make connection and using those connections to get referrals is going to help you expand your network. Warm introductions. It's one of the things that I love the most. What is the difference between the old world when we did cold calls through the list? And if I had you here in front of me, I'd ask you, show of hands, how many of you actually like cold calling a stranger and trying to sell them what you have? I'm guaranteeing that there are going to be very few hands raised for that. But what if you had an opportunity for a warm introduction? Here's a simple thing. When you get a referral, if you ask that person, John, would you mind just doing a nice email introduction? That in itself brings you towards the potential prospect in a nicer way. Because now it's not you just knocking on an empty door, it's someone inviting you. It's someone making that contact. Email communication. Letters, mailers, in today's world, while they still have value, and don't get me wrong, we will get back to the in-person sales. But rather than just saying, I'm shifting all my business, and now everything is going to be online, what if you created in the future a situation where you can take these strategies as part of your work and still implement some of the old strategies? Understanding that we will, for a while, be in this situation where we may not be able to have in-person networking events, but at a certain point, we will start with hybrid events, and then we'll be able to go back face to face. Client referrals, same way they might have been where you sat face to face and asked for that referral, ask for it online. What are your tools? What are you using to bring leads in, turn those leads into prospects, and the prospects into customers? You have to have a system. We talked about having a CRM where you can actually record all of that, where you can actually record all of that. But how do you get them in the door? Yes, you can use the warm introduction, but in today's world, when you're also looking to create value, they want something tangible that you can offer them that especially will not only educate, but appeal to their needs. Here are some examples. Financial calculators. Giving them an opportunity, hey, if you give me your email, here's a financial calculator for you in exchange. You don't have to say it that way, because when you say it that way, there might be a slight pullback. But what if you could calculate your expenses and understand how much you have every month to invest in your future? Would that be useful for you? I've got a great tool for you. And that tool, if you just put your email, will immediately be in your mailbox. It's a different type of presentation, isn't it? White papers, especially for those that are going to be in corporate or in executive roles. They would like to have data, statistics, and information. Quizzes. You guys took a survey before. So many people love to find out where they rank in a quiz. Offer a quiz, and at the end, send them something, capture their email. Give an ebook. How about tips for investing? Tips for being able to build a good retirement. Tips for your health. Today, especially, health and wellness, both physically, mentally, and financially, are at the top of mind for people. And if any of you may have watched in the past, top 10 list. Top 10 list of things to do, as well as top 10 lists of things not to do. These are hooks. They're your bait to bring somebody through the door to start engaging in a deeper conversation. And then you can even create little videos. You can use this on a website. You can use these in mailers. You can use these on LinkedIn. You can use them on Facebook posts. Anywhere where you choose to share that information, as long as you have a strategy for continuity. What it's doing for you is positioning you as the expert. And why is that important? Differentiation. How do you differentiate yourself from others? If you are an expert, then rather than having to go out and cast a wide net, you have the opportunity to bring them in towards you and pull them in. How do you do that? You have to have a system that allows them quick retrieval. As an example, like we just talked about, a quick email that allows you to download something and automatically is in their mailbox. The visuals have to be appealing. It has to look professional. The more professional it looks, the higher value you provide for them. The content has to be relevant. How do you find content that's relevant? Go to your old clients, find out what their key needs are. Find out what they are looking for right now. Go to journals, look at what the hot topics are within the industry, and take information from there, customize it in your own words. Make it relevant. Make it focused. And why focused? Because small bits of information, especially if you are looking to capture Gen Xers, Millennials, and Generation Z, having long stories, big emails are not within their bandwidth. Remember, this is the iPhone and Android generation. They want quick answers. If you give them focused, quick tidbits, that to them has more value than anything else. Today, for those, they're very, very hooked on podcasts. But there is a new thing that has come out, which is a mini podcast. It's not the hour conversation. What if you shared a 5 to 7 minute tip and did that on a weekly basis? That again will put you as the expert in the field. Make the examples easy to implement. So not only easy to gain from you, but easy to actually implement as a strategy. When you don't have when you don't use a financial plan to help you meet your life goals, here's what happens. I have 3 kids and no money. Why can't I have no kids and 3 money? When there is no plan, they're lost. You have the opportunity to give them direction and give them a plan that will help them with their goals. But there's one mistake that can be made, and that can cost you a client. I had one of these Skype meetings with an old advisor that I had worked with several years ago. And he asked me if he could introduce me to some new information. He told me the meeting was going to be about 20 minutes. And we jump on Zoom. He was not proficient with Zoom. So I actually had to train him on the Zoom. And then we continue, and he starts getting into the information. 35 minutes later, he is still talking. Now, this is a client that I've been coaching one-on-one. I want you to put in the chat, what is the key mistake that he made in creating this quote-unquote presentation and pitch to me? No listening, too much talking, no interaction, too long, didn't stop talking. Excellent. Went too long, too much time. Absolutely. So first of all, he set the perimeters. Lost focus on you. Absolutely. See, the key mistake that he made in this situation, he didn't talk about me. Absolutely. He came in and gave his pitch. He didn't ask any questions. No, he did not. And not only he did not ask any questions, as he said, he went with his selling strategy. Now, I know that when you join IDC WIN, you have sales training and you have an 8-step process that you learn. However, it is not about the 8-step process, because a client is not interested in the 8-step process. What is a client interested in? A client is interested in what is in it for me. How do you discover that? How do you find out? That is their buying strategy. When you can connect your selling strategy to their buying strategy, then you create a win-win situation. Key things in being able to understand their buying strategy is first understanding, are they even a buyer? So several of you put in the chat that this guy did not listen to me. And the first thing that I actually coached him was active listening. You have to start off by finding out if I'm even a client before you start pitching to me. Take a look at this, and I want you to put in the chat, there are 9 different, should I say, no-nos that we can do. How many of these are you right now looking to change? Let's put it this way. No matter how great we are and how wonderful listeners we are, we can all always do better. The first thing in being a great advisor is your ability to listen to your client. Making sure that you make them feel heard, valued, and understood. Because when you create that ground for connection and build that rapport with them, they learn to trust you. And we know that people buy from people that they know, like, and trust. Now, as individuals with our selling strategy, we might have different strategies. So we have a question here. Let's jump into the chat. Looking at the chat here, and as I said, it was running very quickly. One mouth, two ears. Yes, I love that one. It's got to be all about the prospect or the client. Absolutely. The second thing is that we'll get in a minute into understanding how different people have their conversations. So we have to learn to understand and embrace the fact that different people communicate differently. So empathy is key. And empathy, by the way, does not mean that we always agree with everything that happens, but we understand where people are. I had another advisor that I was coaching and was working with, was talking to a client, and the client lost not only the money that they had in for 7 years in the retirement, but they actually lost in the investment money from their principal. Now, while there might have been other people that were involved in the deal that have lost the money, one of the comments that Richard Rocco had made was, well, the company itself lost over, 200,000 on this one, and, everybody lost money. That is a wrong answer to give a client. Because what you do is then you take the focus off that client and put it about other people. Not only that, but for the individual that lost 50%, including their principal, they're in a different circumstance than somebody who might have lost 2 million, 200,000. It's not about a comparison. It's not a competition here. It's about understanding that your client right now has suffered a loss. How do you manage them? And quite frankly, that was one of the things that I had to train and coach this individual on, how to develop empathy towards where your clients are. Because you have to be able to step into their shoes and see the world from their eyes. It does not matter where you are. It matters where they are. Your goal is to reach out to them, to where they are, and bring them towards you. Years ago, when I was taught marketing my business, it's meet the client where they're at and let them have what they want, and then educate them and show them what they need. It's about having that type of a conversation. So how do you find out You use specific languaging, and it's client-centric language. It's you. So here are some questions. What are your goals? How do you envision your future? You take them on a journey and you help them dream what their future might be, what their retirement might be. That way you can sit down and take your notes to find out what you now can look into your funnel, into your resources, how to best sell them. What are your top priorities? Some people might be more focused on their health and wellness. Some might be more focused on real estate. Some might be more focused on high risk. Some might be focused on securities. Some might be focused on safety and security. Understand why it's important to them. So what are your priorities? Why are they important to you? That's how you start building their portfolio. What would make you feel secure? Understanding that when you look at your clients, there are different types of personalities. We talked about that last time, where there's those that are more feelers and those that are more thinkers. Which one does your client fall into? When you ask a client what would make you feel secure and they have an answer that talks about feeling, you immediately can tell that they're all about feelings. But if they answer, I think that what would make me secure, you now automatically know they're not the feeler type, they're the thinker type. That will help you also develop the language around your conversation, as well as provide them with the proper materials and develop their buying strategy. What are your concerns and your fears? Okay, that lets you know how far you can stretch with risk or not. Last and not least, how have past experiences affected you? What worked, what hasn't? Now, if Amir, during his presentation to me, would have asked me these questions, we would have had a very different conversation, because he would have known where I'm at, and he would have also known that right now I'm actually in the place where I have a direction and I'm not looking to change it. So it also helps you screen out if somebody is not going to take that bait, and they may not be your client. Okay, remember how we went to Minty? We're going to go back to that. There's one more. We're going to find out where you rate in personality. So let's go back to Minty to use your code. Same one that you used before. So go to Minty.com, and if you haven't done it before, 42713114. Gotta love how this happens. And in any audience, depending on the profession, this will look differently. If I am sitting in a room with engineers and people that are high data, it will look very different. It will be high detail and rule oriented. So we have in this group a large part which are really go-getters. And very often when we're looking at entrepreneurs that have to have businesses that drive, that is what we're going to find. So let's understand what the different personas are and how do we approach them when they're clients or when they're team members. So there are those of us that are fast-paced. Okay, quick information, want to move quickly. And there are those that take more time to digest the information. There are those of us that are process and fact-oriented, and there are those of us that are more people and feeling-oriented. And you saw that within your team, within your company, or there's a nice mix of everybody. So let's start off with the direct. The direct, based on your training, it's also used as drivers in the IDC WIN training. Those are people that are goal-oriented. They're very decisive. They're big picture, fast speed. They're ambitious and they're strong-willed. When you are speaking to them and you find out that that's your client, how do you know? They're going to ask specific questions, and their questions are going to be directed as what? Not only that their questions are going to be directed as what, you'll notice based on the way they have their conversation that they are going to be faster paced, they're going to be decisive, they're going to be very high level, big picture. So be clear, concise, and precise with your language. Be clear, concise, and precise. When you need, have a video meeting. Very often, they don't even require that. They might have a quick phone conversation with you and just tell you to go with it. When you're putting things in writing, use bullet points. And that's because they are looking for the big idea. The next one are your expressives. They're outgoing. They're the ones that have the magnetic personality. They're enthusiastic, sometimes too enthusiastic. So they're the ones that at times can get a little distracted because they sometimes have squirrels in their own head. They're demonstrative and they're conversational. At times when they're your client, you want to make sure that you can keep them on task because of the fact that they might go on tangents. They want to know who. So they're really focused on the persona. Being able to build rapport with them, joke around, be energetic, matching them where they are is going to be essential. For them, video meeting whenever possible. They love that. They love to be on camera. Put the action steps in writing. Because of the fact that they have a lot of energy, being able to follow order is not always easy for them. So when you put it in writing, they can follow things. And very often, a lot of those, if it's not essential that it's followed in sequence, they'll just pick the one that they want to start with. But make sure that you follow up. Ask for feedback. They want to be considered in the mix of the process. They want to be a partner in the decisions. I'm one step away from being rich. All I need now is money. You have the opportunity to help these people with their finances and their future. Let's move to those that are slower pace. Predictable. In your training, you call that amiable. They are patient. They are quiet. They are out of all four styles. They are the best listeners. They're loyal, steady, reliable, and more relaxed. By the same token, if you're having a conversation with them and you're watching them on video, these might be the people, because they are people-oriented, they're observing, they're listening, they might have somewhat of a poker face. And then they'll ask a question. So don't think that because you may not see the expressions like the expressive, that they're not engaged. Pay attention to simple things like maybe a head tilt or leaning in to the camera. Especially since when we're on camera, we have to focus differently on our audience than if we're face to face and we can actually connect energetically. They need to know the why. And it's not necessarily your why of why you do what you do, although that will help you make a connection with them and help build trust and develop loyalty. But they need to have an understanding of the reasons behind everything that is done. In other words, any transaction, anything that needs to be signed, they need to have a reason and a purpose for it. Ask open-ended questions and let them respond either through chat or email. And they are more quiet. They need to contemplate, they need to think about things in order to be able to give you the information that you need. Give them time to think. Never, ever put them on the spot. When you put them on the spot, they'll be like a turtle. They'll pull away. Because it makes them feel uncomfortable, they never want to give a wrong answer because they don't like to disturb and disrupt the peace. So give them time to think. If you have certain questions that need answers, put it again in an email or in the chat. A fourth style is the compliant, the analytical one in your training. They are dependent, they are neat, they're very conservative, they are rule followers and perfectionists. They are very careful with their investments. These are the ones that are not going to be taking high risk. Okay? You'll have high risk more among the drivers and the expressives. So the people that are more outgoing, that are big picture, will be willing to take more risk. So understanding, when you look at the manner, at their mannerism, they are more conservative, they are quiet, they are more withdrawn, they are very often more introverted. You'll be able to notice because those are the people that are not necessarily comfortable on camera. They need to know the how, the order of the process, the regulation. They were the ones that when you have a white paper with loads of data, they'll read everything and they'll probably come up and bring some more ideas. So have an organized approach with them. They're the ones that flyers and information is going to be essential. Focus on facts, not on feelings. Precision around expectations. They need to know exactly how things are going to work. Now, what happens when you cannot have the face-to-face? I had spoken to several advisors, and I work with some one-on-one in coaching. And one of the things that I've heard, especially when it comes to remote, that there are challenges. I'm going to ask you right now to put in the chat, what are some of the challenges that you have with your clients when it comes to connecting with them remotely? What are some of the challenges that you have with clients connecting with them remotely? Getting on a video call, technology glitches, misunderstanding details, clients aren't technical, lack of body language. Some seniors are not comfortable with tech. Tech is an issue. Let's look at some of the things that you can do in order to overcome that. First thing is the most important thing, is making sure that you understand the technology. Making sure that you yourself know how to work the technology. Now, in today's world, there are plenty of YouTube videos. There are plenty of people, if you are someone who might be a baby boomer, Gen Xer, might be of the more senior generations, and we did not grow up with technology, then find a youngster that can maybe mentor you and train you. The more you know about the technology, the more you can help your own clients or your future clients. So in order to do that, you want to make sure that you give them links and instructions for video conferencing. Give them, literally spoon feed that to them. If they're technologically challenged, make sure that they can get support from family members. The advantage for you, if they can get support from family members, is the fact that you now have the ability to enroll more than one generation in the conversation. Online document signature. I know that when you have to get documents to them, that can be a challenge. There are services, DocuSign, eSign, Adobe. If they cannot do it, or they don't trust, because a lot of elderly may not trust signing documents online, messenger them. Messenger the paperwork to them. Think outside the box. What things can you do to make them feel comfortable? If you cannot email the documents and you have to send documents and you have a set in front of you and they have a set in front of them, they have something tangible that they can feel comfortable with. Be an attentive ear. Active listening is what's going to buy you their trust, their confidence, not just now, but for in the future. And more importantly, being able to understand where their challenges are. You know, I have heard from many that being able to deal with technology is a challenge. A week and a half ago, we celebrated my father's 90th birthday, and we threw a surprise party for him via Zoom. We had about 70 people on the Zoom from all over the world. You know, I taught my brother, who's in his mid-60s, how to set Zoom so that the TV, the Wi-Fi Bluetooth TV, acts as a big screen so that they can watch it in front of them. There were people there in their 90s and 80s that are friends of my dad that spent 2 hours on a Zoom birthday party. See, people, it's not necessarily about the technology. It's about the value that we provide. And if we provide value and people feel there's a need and there's a calling, they will find a way. So your best asset is to make yourself valuable to people, to position yourself as an expert to these new clients that you're seeking, and let them know that you care. Let them know that you are there for them. So as we were wrapping up, I wanted to see in the chat for you to put down one strategy, at least, that you've gained from today. Something that you've learned that you can implement. Listen, then talk. Have a listening ear. The hooks. Being able to create something. Better understanding of communication. Creating a hook. Recognizing people's different personalities. Use messenger service for client, not techie. That is huge. Phishing. About the value, not technology. Asking good questions, truly knowing the person that you are speaking with, how to recognize different types of personalities, how to recognize different types of decision making. Excellent, 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 excellent. What we looked at is practicing active listening and empathy. Using and identifying buyer's strategy. Yes, to build and create that trust. Discovering clients' goals and needs. And speaking to their personality in their language. Now, before Don has his giveaways, I've got some giveaways for you. And they're pretty simple. That sales communication information, my first infographic, you can get that very easily. If you go to kiwilive.com and enter the word uplevel, you will also have the opportunity to get a free personality assessment. As a matter of fact, this working from home assessment, not only it's free, but it has 8 different styles of personality that you can use. So I'm going to leave that on, and I believe that that information has also been included in the handout that I sent to you. Feel free to reach out to me. Make sure that you learn to listen, to your clients. Go fishing.
There won't be any CE credits. I see a message in the chat, CE credits pending. I don't think there's any CE credits for this particular session, so we won't have that. And we will have this recorded for those who missed it or want to see some more on our website and on our e-training platform, Win Big. Thanks again. Everybody stay safe. Karen, I guess Thanksgiving is over for you, but
yes, it
have a
is.
great rest of the winter.
Thank you.
See you soon. Bye,
Thank you,
everybody.
everyone.